Joey Brando here at the first annual Iconic 32 Pop Culture Summit with the legendary, the very talented Jonathan Mannion himself.
Thank you so much, man.
Now, Jonathan, here at the Iconic 32 Pop Culture Summit, let's just start off with that word culture. And what does culture mean to you?
Oh, man, I think culture is ever-changing. I think it's hard to like pinpoint and say culture is this. You know, there's no clear definition because it is ever-evolving, you know? I don't know. Culture depends. I mean, it depends. You want to talk about culture in '77, culture in '84, culture in 2012, like whatever. It really, I think, is the defining premise of what's happening in that moment that is deemed to be sort of popular at that time. But I think it goes deeper than that too. In that I think you have to define what culture is for yourself and what you're presenting. It's about what's important.
Now, how do you want to use your gift, your talent in photography to inspire others and specifically inspire the youth?
Yeah, when I entered this arena in, sort of 1993, when I moved to New York from Cleveland, I realized that I was given a chance by one of the greats to ever do it, this guy, Richard Avedon. And, in that moment, you sort of don't realize, you just kind of go through the motions, you work hard, you're dedicated, and it is really hard work. But, at the end of it, you kind of come out having an understanding of like, okay, that was great as an experience. How do I get closer to what I really, truly want to do, in my soul, And I think that all of the things that I've ever done before in my life have sort of led me to this point and continue to lead me sort of down the road to defining sort of what that looks like,
Now, continuing with that theme of inspiration, you've worked with so many artists. What artist that you've worked with has been the most inspiring for you?
I find that looking back at a 20-year career, it's difficult to sort of pinpoint. There's definitely highlights. Jay-Z, Reasonable Doubt, '96, certainly a highlight. My first album cover. Working with the people that sadly have left us too soon. Aaliyah, Jam Master Jay, Biggie. Name any of the people that are in my arsenal that I've photographed. Those become more important because there's no other statement that can be made afterwards. So, I think those are really the important sessions. But, now it's sort of, with a 20-year body of work, it's trying to figure out common threads and how do I present it to continue the oral history. Because, back in the 90s, there isn't social media and like everything isn't immediately like the shot heard around the world. It was about, carefully curating the events that you went to and the ones that you documented, and then now bringing those pictures to life to, continue to show people what it really feels like. And I think that that's an important thing now for me is the curation of the work to really, showcase what these moments, were all about.
You've done so much work with Jay-Z in particular, as you mentioned during your speech. What's one thing people would be surprised to know about Jay-Z that you've noticed from your work with him? I guess there's little gems that I've gotten from Jay kind of along the way. And, one of the things that I guess I remember is sort of him talking about like discovery, like letting people find out for themselves what moves their soul, And I think that was always an interesting kind of thread that was like, why don't you do this and put it out there in a certain way? It's like, no, they'll find it. It's cool, And he just sort of like sat back. I found that was an interesting thing. He's one of the most clever, witty, sharp people that I've ever met. And I think one of the things that I sort of take away from, having spoken to him and worked with him is that he really listens. And I think that that's kind of becoming a lost art as people are busy like just spewing what their platform is and what they want and how do I get there and needing answers. The people that listen like, okay, let me just sit back and like really be present in this moment and hear things and let it sink in and then respond. I find that's probably one of his bigger gifts that I've noticed. Now, whenever you're working on an album cover, how does that inspiration come to you? Do you, plan out a basic couple ideas of what you want it to look like or what you want the feel of it to be, or what is that creative process like in creating an album cover?
Yeah. In creating album covers in the past, there's a lot of different ways that it happens. Sometimes you plan it out within an inch of its life, And none of that happens. And you have to adapt because the artist is feeling some kind of way or doesn't want to go to that location that you've scouted, you know, sort of for weeks in a row and finally cleared. He's like, nah, I don't like it. It's too big or green or whatever. Like, you have to just be adaptable. I think it is wise, certainly, to walk in with a plan. If everything goes right and you get exactly what you want from the day, here's the 6 shots that are going to happen. And some people need that structure, you know what I mean? Some people thrive by being told what it is that they're to do, and then they respond within the moment. You know, some are just like freestyles, and you never know. You know, I've showed up to album covers blind, like, all right, what do you want to do? You know, you wouldn't get on the phone with me, and I wasn't given the title of the album, so I know nothing. So let's make it today, and let's make today special, and let's dedicate ourselves to doing the best work that we possibly can in this moment, taking chances, communicating well, and that guides you down the road.
You've had such an illustrious career in photography and in music. You really have.
Sorry.
What's next for Jonathan Mannion? Is there an artist out there that you haven't worked with that you want to work with, or what's next for you? What would you like to accomplish? I
mean, I think the easy answer to that question is I want to work with people that want to work with me. You know, that's the gift, is like when people are like, I really want to deal with you because I understand what you bring to the table. Like, that's the joyful kind of like moment of creation. You know, there's certain people that I've always wanted to photograph and have gotten close to, but still nothing yet. But like Sade, it's like the living legends, the people that are like just out of the grasp and like, you know, certainly iconic and legendary and, you know, sort of beyond talented. Like, a couple of those people I want to deal with, you know, her being sort of at the top of the list, and it's going to happen, you know, because I keep on talking about it and you put it out there and it's going to come back to you. But, you know, beyond that, it's like, you know, the career is moving nicely forward, and 20 years next year, so it's a big kind of moment of celebration for me, and also kind of transition, like, okay, what do the next 20 years look like? You know, and that's all being crafted now, and, you know, I just want to work passionately and creatively and sort of purely to kind of continue to give the people sort of the contents of my heart.
Jonathan Mannion, thank you very much for joining me.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it, man.
Pleasure.